All right, and the little red button says that we are live. We are live on the Smile and Wave stream, boys. Just smile and wave. That's a that's about where we're at with this bullshit. Did you get a chance to look over the glorious the glorious spectacle of the of this year's inauguration, Spicy?
A little bit, yes.
Mm.
And it was fucking retarded.
Now, yesterday, today was is Carnal Senior's birthday. The 20th is my dear father's birthday. So in the time that we were at the restaurant, we were able to. I was able to catch. I think it was J Lo sing "America,"
Yep.
and she had this wonderful moment where she went into a little bit of Spanish. I'm like, oh my god, that is cringe. Why did you do it?
Yeah, like campaigning for election in Mexico.
Yeah, like seriously, what but let's talk about the entire spectacle of the inauguration um as a whole. Look, I watched Don the Pleb stream earlier today, and it was empty. Like, there was no Biden supporters at the inauguration. It was all the elites. It was all just the elected representatives. There was the Clintons were there. Pence was there. Bernie Sanders was fucking there, but not a single Biden supporter in in line of sight anywhere.
Yeah.
So and here they are in a gate in there. I call them the Democrats in cages,
Hmm.
just celebrating their own victory, and it's it's chill. It would be chilling if it wasn't so amusing, realizing that they have put themselves in a political corner where they now have to convince the American people that A, they're legitimate, or B, completely crush any vocal opposition to their to their to their regime, to their administration. And I don't see either happening. Do you?
Nope. The media's already gone back to what they were before Trump got elected, which is, this is just so nice. Everything's so calm. There's no big bad Nazis in our area. We don't have to deal with any bad things no more. Let's get back with the Paris Climate Accords and suck everyone else off.
And that's an interesting point. And we got mandatory back. Welcome, mandatory.
No, that is my line, by the way. Thank you very much.
That was a Discord squabble between the two of them. What are we doing tonight, Brain? Same thing we fucking do every night, Pinky.
Try and take over the world.
You know, that's kind of what it's beginning to look like, too.
Well,
Oh,
well, well, here's the funny shit. They're trying to take over the world, yet they're stuck in their cage, surrounded by patriotic soldiers that they don't trust.
Uh-huh.
And if you think that those 12 were, some radical extremists, I have bad news for you. They were not radical extremists. They were actually, quite tame, and I think their sin was they watched they liked Alex Jones or something to that effect.
one of them was because they retweeted or responded to some stuff about Turning Point USA. Another one was a militia member, which that in of itself is not illegal, even if you are National Guard. It's whatever. It's all a joke because the Democrats are saying that all across the board that they're all terrified that these National Guardsmen are there to assassinate or stop the inauguration. And it came out, I think it was today after the whatchamacallit inauguration, that nothing was found. No shit, really.
Well,
I
and
want to throw a flag on the play here, guys.
okay,
People keep using that M word, militia.
Yeah.
It does not mean what you think it means.
okay, educate us.
All right. The the militia is this ordinary citizens, carnal like you. Okay, not so much me and Spice so much. Me now, but not back in the day. Who are called to government service by some exigency, for a brief period of time, whether it's to defend the nation or to fight a fire, which has happened in living memory, or, and you'd be shocked, there have been militias that have been called up since, I think, Carnal, since you were born, and Spice, I know you would remember at least one.
Okay,
Okay.
If you're not called up by the government for service, it's not a militia. It might be a gun club, it might be a gang, it might be a lot of things, but it's not a militia if it doesn't answer to an elected official at some point.
well, and that kind of brings me to another beef that I've had now. Some of you may already know that I'm on Gab, and I'm having a lot of fun on Gab. Actually, cool story. The group that I made called the hashtag Exodus was joined and endorsed by Sargon of Akkad. So if you're not in there, you can jump in there as well. So we're already about 1.1 thousand members in the hashtag Exodus group.
I fucking hate you.
Uh, I love you too, mandatory. I love you too.
Moving on.
So, anyways, and since I've been on Gab, I have had the greatest time picking on and demeaning Q-tards. Because my fucking god, the amount of shit that should have gone down, according to these morons, that clearly didn't go down. Like there was no arrest, there was no insurrection, there was no rounding up the swamp creatures, that there was no Trump strolling back into the White House. None of it. None of it fucking happened. And the rest of them are just like, we gotta trust the plan. Enjoy the show. Motherfucker, I'm watching the show. Are we watching the same fucking show? It's The Swamp Strikes Back. This is
Yeah.
not.
It
This
is.
does not have a happy ending.
Nope.
That should be the name of this live stream. The Swamp Strikes Back.
Well, here's why it's not. Because I have every intention of enjoying this moment. Because the more and more that I look at these proceedings, the more and more I look at the pomp and the ceremony of the swamp, I see it completely devoid of any actual American influence. And it is equally terrifying if I actually thought this was sustainable. But it's not sustainable, is it?
Apparently not.
No, I don't think it's sustainable at all. But before we get into that, mandatory, you wanted to go over Joe Biden's executive orders that he signed today. So
Oh,
let's go over the absolute cringe of these executive orders.
my
God,
bad.
yes.
Um, I
You
was
did
not expecting you to say that. So give me a second to pull it up.
okay. So
Um,
Oh wow. Missouri has a militia that actually has a website.
um,
based.
do they answer to the local sheriff?
Probably not, which is always
Okay.
a good move too.
Actually, the really, if you get right down to it, only the local sheriff can call up the militia, and only the local sheriff can be that elected commander in chief of a local militia.
Interesting. I learned
It's
something new today.
very complicated how that rule works. It's simple to explain in a minute. All right. Well,
Okay.
he's ordered a halt on construction of the border wall.
Even though it's done by a private company. Okay.
Well, no, it was paid for with Defense Department funds. So it
Yep.
directs private contractors to stop work as soon as possible, but in no case later than 7 days.
Okay, so
Okay.
work will continue for 7 days. Fantastic.
Uh, let's see. Let's see. What else can I find? Yeah.
Oh, they also
Oh,
stopped construction on the Keystone pipeline.
Yep, I heard about that one.
okay. Whoa, really? Because that
Yep.
was
Yeah.
one of Barack's pet projects.
Oh, yeah. I mean, energy independence? No, no, we can't have that. That's
That was
that is yeah. That's a no go for for the uh for the globalist agenda. So yeah, no Keystone pipeline from now on.
oh, whoa, holy
Uh
shit!
huh.
I just stumbled onto something.
Okay. Share.
This is from the Hill.
Uh huh.
President Biden, Joe can begin on day one by rescinding three executive orders embodied by President Trump's authoritarian impulses. His
Uh-oh.
order threatening social media platforms, a thinly veiled attempt to punish the platforms for adding fact checking labels, barring businesses and individuals from conducting many kinds of diversity training. Okay. And imposing sanctions on staff of the International Criminal Court and American scholars and active advocates who work with the courts, a shameful attempt to interfere with investigations of war crimes. So I'm not sure where they're going here, but this is what the Hill wants him to do. Rescind the threats against social media platforms.
Uh huh.
Uh, stop them, have them stop the barring of diversity training
Yep.
and uh, something about interfering with international criminal courts. So for where that's going, I do know that this thing about barring businesses and individuals from conducting many kinds of diversity training, they're not barred from conducting that training. They're just not going to be doing it with federal funding.
Exactly. So, and Trump basically
Ah,
said that this that the social justice, critical race theory agenda will not be implemented federally, which is pretty much their only legitimate source of income, except for big tech, big corporation woke companies. Um, so he just basically put the kibosh on it in the public sector. Um, but Joe Biden's administration, they put the wokerati in the on the how would you say it? The people who oversee the stock market. Yeah, that's who we put in charge of the federal like liaison between the government and the stock market exchange. It's actually
who?
pretty disturbing actually.
Who did he put in
Um,
charge?
Hang on, let me look it up because this shit is disturbing in degrees of magnitude.
Yeah. Say he put a member of Hollywood in charge of that?
Yeah,
Did
hang
I
on one
understand you
sec.
correctly?
No, not a member of Hollywood, a critical race theory proponent.
Oh, a shyster.
Oh my god. I thought what I was reading now was bad.
No.
Oh. Oh my god. Okay. There's not enough coffee in the world for that.
No, no, there isn't.
All right. Well, I found the whole list of 17 as it stands right now.
Okay.
He signed an executive order appointing Jeffrey D. Zients as the official COVID-19 response coordinator. Um,
Okay.
though not a national mask mandate, which would most likely fall to a legal challenge. He is requiring social distancing and the wearing of masks on all federal property and by all federal employees.
Oh my
Moving on
gosh.
to the
Glad I'm
next
not
one.
federal.
On immigration, he has bolstered the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. I'm going to say something about this already.
Anchor babies.
Oh, worse.
Oh no. Child sex trafficking.
Child sex trafficking.
It's child
Yeah.
sex trafficking.
Yeah. You guys know I have a business partner as Menagerie Carey, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This fix I keep talking about.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She was sold. The Taliban took her and her mother and a couple of her sisters and sold them as a lot out of a basement in San Francisco. Uh,
What?
oh yeah. Um, this was back around 1991, somewhere in that region. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask her. Um, she was about 14 at the time, I think. Um,
Oh
they
my
did not
gosh.
end up in they did not end up working in the sex industry. They ended up working in the textile industry, sweatshop. So they got off easy.
Yeah.
But when Mama died, um, Fix was able to escape. Ended up living on the street for well, I don't know, but she was living on the street for a while until they put her in a group home and figured out what language she spoke. And
Pashto
that's
or
when,
God.
Farsi.
huh?
Pashto or Farsi.
Pashto.
Mm.
Actually,
All right. We actually have another guest. Let's welcome Sean Stryker.
hi,
So,
Sean.
How's it going, Sean? As he's chugging and chugging.
Bang energy drink, guys. I'm not getting paid to endorse it. I just like it. That and their
Fair
bikini
enough.
models are awesome.
All right.
Cool beans. So, what have you got for us, man? Because we have Joe Biden apparently revving up to restart the child sex trafficking from the border, which, given the shit we found on his son's laptop, shouldn't be any fucking surprise. We've gone over some of his executive orders, stopping the border wall. He's stopping the pipeline. What else has he done
Uh,
already?
he's
Oh, the Muslim ban. He's reversing the Muslim ban.
okay. First of all, stop. It's not a ban on Muslims. It's a ban on entry into the U.S. from countries that harbor terrorism.
All right, fine. The terrorist
shithole
ban.
countries.
Even
The
North
te-
Korea is on the
Most
list.
of them.
North Koreans are not Muslim.
All right,
Um,
fine. The terrorist ban. I stand corrected.
and Iran is on that list. And Iran, there's two ways to deal with them: let them take over, or literally bomb it off the face of the earth. There you go.
Pretty much.
Commission
So-
the irradiated sea of Iran.
So, Stryker, what have you got for me?
Well, I put up a link in the chat to just the, hold on, I'm not actually seeing if it's still there, to North Korea's little, room 39. Let me get my tabs here in order. Can you guys still hear me, or is my phone glitching?
No, we hear you.
We can hear you. You're fine.
Okay, good. Room 39. The reason I'm bringing it up is there's a meme going around right now where Biden has a Asiatic-looking fellow behind him wearing a different pin than his. It's a guy, I believe his name is pronounced David Cho. And I just wanted to look into, who this little Secret Service dude was, if he's like a handler or something from China. And from what I can tell, he's been on the teams negotiating with North Korea for both Obama and for President Trump. So I didn't get any confirmation because he doesn't have an entry that I could find on his own. I could just find a commendation for him. And I got to thinking to myself, if we had Feinstein with her chauffeur that was a Chinese handler, I wonder if this dude is Biden's handler. Keep the North Koreans and the Chinese close, but more so put them literally within the security details so they're always around the president. It was just a thought of mine, and it made me reflect on Room 39, which is North Korea's money laundering and drug laundering operation, which they do as an extension of China, essentially.
Very interesting. And so
China.
Even deeper is they're actually part of our Black Ops deep state. Our CIA has its fingers in that pie. So when you see these, negotiations between North Korea and South Korea, the elements of the globalists that keep China in power are the ones who are keeping the two Koreas separate. The Koreans want reunification. They have a lot of nationalism, a lot of pride, and the folks in the North are tired of being starved. Folks in the South have industry and could always use, more labor. But and that kind of relates to what you guys are talking about with this border stuff. We got 9,000 migrants on their way, from Latin America to the southern border. And here we have Biden getting ready to give all these people amnesty. They'll never, of course, vote Republican. So that's another voting block for the Democrats. But on top of that, the crime element will come through unfettered and unfiltered. So hopefully folks living around the border towns in the southern U.S. or folks like me, I'm about an hour and a half north of Tijuana. They got the Temecula check. That's one of the jokes is the Temecula checkpoint. That's all staff with Border Patrol is about 45 minutes inland from San Diego, Tijuana. So it's kind of like, now you're checking cars for produce and for people when you guys could have, just been farther south, at the actual border.
Yeah.
That's one of the frustrating things is our border is not secure. We give people a head start to run across before actually putting any assets on the ground to track them.
We don't need assets on the ground. We need drones in the air.
Yeah, because drones have handcuffs, don't you know?
Who
said
said
anything
about
handcuffs?
That's not what he's thinking. No, you can't use a Hellfire missile on a civilian vehicle inside of the United States. That's illegal.
You can only do it if you're
True.
Obama targeting an American citizen overseas.
Well, we got
Wait a moment.
2.0 now.
I thought minigun goes brrr.
Exactly. Minigun
No,
does go
like-
brr.
It sounds more like a drawn out fart.
Yeah, but I got to work with the meme, I got to work with the meme of the printer, Printer goes brrr
no.
and all the money comes out.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing meme, so I converted it for the miniguns on the Predator drone once upon a time. Oh gosh, there's going to be so many more memes now we have for President Biden. The problem is it's going to be the censorship, but this is going to be the left is either going to implode us before these congressional elections in 2 years, or we got to fix these election machines. We've been at this ever since Bush versus Gore, and I don't think the machines are going to get fixed. Dominion is protesting so loudly with, oh, we're putting defamation suits, into the courts because you guys defamed our machines, our products. Well, yeah, you guys ran off, so we couldn't prove our case. You ran off.
You know what? No. Hang on. This is golden opportunity. If it's only defamation, if it's not fucking true. So let us go audit your fucking machines and figure out if it's actually defamation, you pieces of shit. I mean, call their bluff. Go to town on these assholes.
The thing is you got to play long game, and they already knew to play long game. They'll take out their motherboards, reinstall other motherboards, reprogram the algorithms on those circuit cards, and even in the software, and then everything will go right when they're audited again. Let's get this. Pelosi's laptop got stolen. Everyone's like jazzed on each side of the aisle about it, or they're all pissed off about it, depending on your take. Now, the guy who stole Pelosi's laptop, this banker that has a family he has to feed, he's not, like the wealthiest dude ever. Supposedly, he shot himself in the chest with a pistol. Okay, whatever. I look at his Arkansas side. Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, yeah.
But him and the police chief who ordered the stand down, he's dead. So 2 people related to that day are dead. One's a police, deputy chief of DC of the Capitol Police, and the other is a banker. And also, we have all the people killed in the riots. Whatever. My point on this: no one has addressed where's the laptop. The dude's dead. He stole the laptop. Where's the laptop? What's on it? Could it be proof one way or the other about the election? I mean,
supposedly it was recovered.
Yeah, supposedly. Who had it before it was recovered?
The answer is, of course there was, and of course, hashtag he didn't fucking kill himself. This is where we're at. The fact is, they can't censor us anymore. I mean, Facebook is going to purge pretty much anyone who goes against the mainstream narrative, and that's just going to coalesce us to where we can speak or where we can, exist. And
they're going to try to purge us outside of social media. If you go to somewhere else, say to another server like Parler learned, they go after that company. And if you're going abroad, they will tell people you're a foreign asset.
Parler's fucking retarded for not following Gab's example.
Yeah.
They saw what the hell happened to Gab and didn't think that the same thing was going to fucking happen to them. Bunch of dumbasses.
They thought the Mercer money was all you need. And it's like the Mercers are wealthy, but the Mercers are not going to risk their fortune just to appease. This is the problem. When you get to the Mercers or the Kochs or whatever, they'll throw money into right-wing causes like they do left-wing causes, but they're not committed to them. They're not willing to go down with a ship. That's the difference between a globalist and a person who actually believes in being conservative. As a conservative is going to hold on to what's theirs, i.e. they're conserving it at all costs because they know there's going to be a tomorrow that needs it. Whereas these globalists are like, I'll burn this and reset up over here because I have no loyalty.
Well, and this is where we need to take a moment to really address and acknowledge what Andrew Torba has built on Gab. It is 100% his. Like when you go to Gab, you are not a user, you are a customer, you are a you're a client, and they own they own everything. They own the server, they own the infrastructure, they own. There is not a piece of Gab that the left can go to a private to another middleman and say, take this down. They're all, you can't take Gab down without going to the government saying, take Gab off the grid. And that's the nuclear option. And no one is ready to go for the nuclear option just yet. And if they did, my friend Yiz has a saying that that for every word you take off the table, it becomes a blade. And she's absolutely on point.
They're ready to go for the nuclear option. They're just not willing to take the backlash just yet. They got to shore themselves up now that Biden's in. They got to make sure he's untouchable, or more so Harris is untouchable, before they launch their offensive. I promise you, if Biden drops dead, Biden being alive is all that's saving us from Harris. And that's the old Democrat playbook. You get a middle of the road person as your nominee, and then you get your fringe lunatic as your vice president. The right plays this game too. they make it where you're afraid of the vice president. People were more afraid of Cheney than they were of Bush. They were more afraid of.
I wasn't afraid of Cheney. I wasn't respectful of him either.
Well, rhetorically speaking, people were
I'm
worried
still
that
not
Cheney was.
respectful of him.
Yeah, people were worried Cheney was going to turn us into an oil guzzling, black cloud polluting, just like draconian. You get grind up in the machines of the slave state type thing, and there's some hyperbole in it. But look what his daughter's up to. And family, parents and kids, sometimes they're a lot alike, sometimes they're a lot different. Liz Cheney, she's going right along the neocon line that Dick, was brought up in. That should scare us. That the Cheneys have, just like the Bushes, the Cheneys have been in politics since at least the 70s, if not earlier.
Yeah,
and the person that jacked the laptop, I haven't found anything about the banker committing suicide, but apparently a Riley June Williams, and this was put out 12 hours ago, 22 years old, is accused of nabbing the laptop from Pelosi's office in the Capitol and plotting to have it sold to a Russian spy agency.
Yeah, this is a different guy then. So the 22-year-old got a hold of it somehow from the banker. The banker is the one that was first taking the fall for it, one of the two. If it's a dude with glasses and dark hair that's short, it's the same dude.
That's the thing, though. The person they have on here is a short chick with a brown jacket and dark long hair with glasses. They even have video of her grabbing this HP laptop. But okay.
Then why is all the conservative media being led one way? You see, this is the problem with disinformation on the internet, is everything is getting muddled and confused. And when you have people controlling the narrative, they can muddle and confuse it more.
Yeah, because I'm not finding any other pictures about this at all.
Yeah, let's find out what's really going on first.
Exactly. So once again, where do y'all see this heading? Because I'll be perfectly honest, I see and I hope that Trump starts a third party. That's where I see this is heading. Come again?
I'll shut up.
Little history lesson for you. You know the last time something like this happened, right? Well, in a outside of a communist. You know the last time something like this happened.
Okay, so mandatory, tell us the story of when this happened last time.
French Revolution.
So okay. So what happens from this point? What happens when the elites decide to literally bunker up, reverse everything that the people had voted for, and essentially say, let them eat cake with throwing us back into the Paris Accord, destroying our economy, demanding a $15 federal minimum wage. That's another thing that Biden signed.
Hold up. You got lost in the story here.
Okay.
The elites were the ones who grabbed power. And I'm talking about Robespierre. And where did that go?
I am not. Okay. All right.
You still on?
While you guys ponder that for a second, I'm going to turn off the camera to save my phone battery and make it less glitchy tonight. But I'm still here listening. So I'm also going to mute myself for a moment while I walk this parking lot with trucks. But you mentioned Robespierre. Now, there's a very fascinating character. I'm a yield because I want you to go into depth on what you got on him.
Okay, well, I'm just going to get on with it then. Robespierre went absolutely fucking batshit, totally insane with his power. And he was coming out with sometimes daily lists of, quote, enemies of the state. We don't actually know how many people were executed in total, but there's at least two cases of people who were loaded up into boats. The boats were drug out into the middle of the Nantes River and sunk with these people on them. I know the first one, one of the two, was all nuns from a local monastery. Finally, some of the people got just totally fed up. They're tired of his out of control, insane, hit lists, and they formed the Thermidor Party. Thermidor is a month in the French calendar, which is the month they formed in. But, well, I'm sorry, the Thermidor reaction. It was people from both sides who finally were done with this. They rose up and they were going to take him at gunpoint and try him for treason. Robespierre tried to beat them to the punch, and the barrel was off by about an inch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they actually did eventually try and execute him on his own guillotine. About a year or so later, the Thermidor party disbanded permanently because they knew that they had gone crazy.
Okay.
They knew that this was formed just totally ad hoc, at panic, and that they needed to walk away from it once they had done what they needed to do. They all went back to their native parties. But I can see it starting to form here. And the biggest tell about this, how big was Walkaway when they got nuked off of Facebook?
Massive. Walkaway was massive.
Over 500,000.
Damn.
Yeah, I was a member of one of the two groups.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so was Fix, but she never walked away from the Democratic Party. She's always hated them. That's the party. Well, that's the party that bought her from the Taliban, and then turned around and resold her.
Oh, you don't say. I mean, imagine my shock. So
Yeah.
that's exactly where we're headed. Is a Trumpian third party that and just to go back to this figure Ross, is that not exactly who they told us that Trump was going to be?
Yeah.
And
modern day Robespierre.
Yeah, and you're looking back going, wait, it's you guys readying the guillotine. It's you guys, who do they put in charge of the domestic terrorism unit of Homeland Security?
I don't know. I think it was a guy that got caught honeypotted.
Yes, it's Eric Swalwell, the man who got caught with a Chinese spy. That's the man who's in charge of making lists of conservatives to say, oh, look at these extremists. We need to watch out for them. Go make sure they don't have any rights or any recourse. And that's
Eric Newcomb Swalwell.
Yes.
If I may.
Go ahead.
If I may, because he's been caught with the honeypot, now he's going to have a chip on his shoulder too. There's nothing worse than a Democrat with a grudge, because at least us conservatives, we kind of go by Western European Christian, guidelines where we give you grace or mercy. The Democrats, they don't hold themselves up to that standard. They hate you. They will carry that grudge to the grave. Look how much hate people still have for Nixon. And as history came out, you find out he wasn't quite as culpable for Watergate as the media portrayed him, but he also wasn't as dumb as he was insisting. You find where that gray line, goes. Swalwell, there's no excuse for him not to think he was being set up.
He's ugly as fuck.
Well, not just that. I get people, I'm reaching out with the stuff I'm doing. I always get people, you chat with them for a second or two on social media and their replies just seem off, right? Then you look into their profile and it's like, huh. And then you look further and you can figure out it's some migrant who wants you to become, baby daddy and, get them here into the States. I don't know if you've ever noticed that because Facebook has such a reach now and Twitter has such a reach. You're not trying to flirt with the person. You're like, hey, who are you voting for? Or this. You're going like to try to get them to be an activist or recruit them or however you want to look at it. And they're like, oh, that's great, dear. And it's like, wait, they're calling me dear and we've only exchanged 3 text messages. You get it?
Yeah.
That's like,
If you find one with big tits, send her my way.
Oh, I did, out in the Chicago, Illinois area. So maybe I'll honey trap her or honey pot her. But it looks like in her profile pic, she's either a bot, because Facebook does have a really great AI they had to shut down that was developing its own language. I don't know if you guys heard about that or not.
Didn't it
Yep.
also become racist?
Yep.
Well, yeah, it was telling jokes and stuff like that. So that's the funny part, is it was like telling a right-wing racist jokes, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't have that."
Oh my God.
If you follow logic, like there's a meme I found last night, because that the old hacktivist slash 2016 meme war veteran that I am and all that. There's this meme I found last night on a Telegram channel that was hilarious. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it has a person hanging between two cliffs. They're holding on to each piece of the cliff by like a blade of grass, and the grass is giving way, the dirt's falling from it, and they're going to fall into the pit. And there's a guy. Well, did you hear that, or am I breaking up on you?
No, repeat.
Okay. Well, the meme's worthwhile. The guy's hanging on to both blades of grass from each opposite cliff. He's going to fall into an abyss. There's a dude reaching down from one side, and he's offering him a hand up. And one blade of grass reads, "I believe in evolution." The blade in his left hand that he's struggling to hold on to, it reads, all races are equal.
Oh wow.
And the dude on the I believe in evolution's waiting to lift him up, and the guy about to fall, he's like, "Oh, I'm fine."
Oh wow.
It's just like that. That's so ruthless that I want to share it with my libtard friends, but I know they'll flag my account.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I got something that's deeper for you guys, because the accelerationists, they always stop right there. I'm going to give you some knowledge from the supplement and dietitian and the nutrition side of the house. The idea that brains are stuck at a certain size or IQ stuck at a certain size is actually based on the diet of the mother during the pregnancy and on those first few days of children getting nutrition once they're born. If you have a third world population told to only give their babies baby formula instead of breastfeed them, yes, the brain will not grow. Same for here in the West. They're doing that to us now. So get these mothers, get them healthy food, meats, grains, pastas, let the mom eat like a queen when she's pregnant, like she's supposed to do. Quit, trying to starve her. And then when the baby's born, breastfeed them. Get that natural immunity up and get those, enzymes and hormones into the baby. Yeah, the baby's going to have a bigger brain and thus a higher IQ. Well, these third world populations we keep down, where everyone comes across to the West like they're brain damaged. Yeah, it's because our globalist financed NGOs put them into that position. They're the ones that retarded them. They're the ones who dumped the lead into their river, or they, malnourished them by having their governments hold back aid. All these famines, like I came up
those
during
aren't their governments.
Well, you remember USA for Africa, Michael Jackson and all that? Those governments had food.
That's not a government. That's a gang.
Yeah, tribal warlords. I get it. But they had food back then in Ethiopia and all that. And what were they doing? They were holding it up in a few cities and a few places for their elites. So, there is something to be said here that these poor indigenous peoples of whatever place, they're not stupid by choice. They're stupid because out of the womb, they were screwed over. Now, here's the thing. You can eventually get that intelligence back, but you got to, again, be intelligent enough to know about proper diet, proper nutrition, about eating things like fish and, the Mediterranean type diets and garlic, all the stuff you hear about on the alternative media. It's true. But if you're not intelligent enough to listen to alternative media and, have a wide range of influences, not just in your media, but in your diet, well, guess what? These guys are going to stay stupid if they're on McDonald's 24/7, or if they're on Burger King or Jack in the Box 24/7. Guess what? They're not healthy. They can't produce. They can't improve their quality of food. And as a result, they work lesser quality jobs. And there you go. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately.
Well, and the last stream we did was me and Mandatory went over literally just a small portion that we could when it comes to Trump's accomplishments with the economy, with the with the increase of the wealth of the middle class. Trump has
Mm-hmm.
done an amazing job lifting people out of poverty, making them more productive, and all that wonderful jazz. And he's getting and it's all going to be completely crushed under the new regime, which is why when we talk about the history of this moment, are we actually looking to Trump making this new French party where we just completely massacre our
Thermidor.
elected leaders? Like, is that what we're looking for, or is it going to be something a little different? I'm looking forward to this new Patriot Party as the replacement of the GOP, and and sort of siphoning off some of the more moderate and reasonable Democrats, because we've been shown, and most of America knows that this election was not legitimate. Most people who voted understand I've been fucking robbed. The 80 or so claimed million that Biden says
It's
that
not
he got,
possible.
it's not only is it not possible, it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, no one in their real life experience, their lived experience, is going to say, hey, that looks completely legit. So we're going to act like we've been robbed. And when you go to the Democrat side, and 30% of them are saying, yeah, this I don't believe this election was legitimate, they have a huge problem. So when we look at this hypothetical Patriot third party, are we looking at the actual French Revolution, or will it be something else, is my question.
The thing I could see with a third party, have you guys ever really followed Jesse Ventura's political career in depth and all the stuff he
No.
had to go through?
All right, give me 1 second. We have MacGyver Man,
Oh,
who
welcome.
asks MacGyver Man, who asks in chat, how far do you think the new administration / regime will go to purge their political and ideological opponents in the military, government, education, and law enforcement? The
All the
answer
way.
is, well, yes. Not only is it all the way, but they will go as far as they possibly can. And the only real question is, how much are we, the American people, willing to push back against it?
Hang on. Let's rewind that a little bit. So the one issue with that question is, in the military, you're not able to publicly tell people about or advocate for your individual political beliefs. Whenever I was asked, I usually just said God save the Queen or some bullshit like that. But beyond that, it's going to be really hard to purge political ideas out of the military, because a majority of military personnel are conservative in nature. So what does that mean? If you purge them out, you don't have a fucking military, and you're left with a bunch of, honestly, crybabies, bunch of pussies, bunch of people that act
Well,
like,
and well,
yeah, you get a bunch of bird dolls.
well, let me add to that, Spicy, because the old way of doing this was to not worry about the bulk of the military. The strategy was to elevate those within the military to positions of power
Yes.
and put positions of leadership. And the problem is, that's not going to be enough. And the elites are aware that merely putting ideologues in positions of power in the military will not be enough. That there will be enough of a foundation, especially if there is an alternative third party to look to, that they do not have the ability to simply say, you have to obey this ideological commander. That's not going to work.
Nope.
And they know that it's not going to work. So how far are they going to persecute their ideological opponents in the military, government, education, law enforcement? Well, let's again, in the military, their hands are tied. There's very limited things they can do there. The government, so as far as I can recall, we're still a republic. We still have elected officials for for the time being, and as that they are elected, there's not much you can do other than deride and demoralize. I see them trying to give Josh Haley and Ted Cruz hell, but to be perfectly honest, they're not going anywhere. They are right now, they are the eternal opposition. And the only thing they can do is kill them and hope that someone better or more amenable takes their place. Education, I don't know what political opposition the regime has in education. To be perfectly honest, that realm seems completely lost already. Law enforcement, same with the military.
May I
Well,
interject here, because this is
yeah.
crucial to both law enforcement and military. And this is, remember, I was only in the, I did a year on base, but I was in the reserves from 96 to 2002, Clinton era, early Bush era. And there's much, I've also learned on top of it since then. But here's what you have to understand. In the education world, my high school experience, yeah, I had some conservative teachers, but not a heck of a lot. I had classical liberal teachers, but those classical liberals and those open-minded conservatives are long gone. So you have these left-wing radicals that are now school teachers put in there by socialist school teacher unions. And you fast forward, the kids have been brainwashed to, now accept the multiple genders and all this stuff. Even my goddaughter is open-minded to that because she's watching Steven Universe, and that's what all the kids in her school are into. God forbid a science teacher tell the kids that, yeah, these women kissing women, that's not a normal thing. That's a very rare thing, which, is what used to be an obscure kink is now being promoted as mainstream cartoons. Enough to make you sick. But where I'm going with this is that if the teachers already set the platform that you're super, super duper liberal and America is going to give everybody freedom around the world, and you go into the military or into law enforcement, you're taking oaths to an America that you think exists, and it doesn't exist. And the way they get away with what they're doing as far as pushing a globalist agenda globally is that you have neocon military leadership that's gone up through the ranks. You talk about promotions. Yes, left-wingers are getting promoted, but the reason they're getting promoted is because the right-wing neocon, and I'm not even saying they're really right-wing, the neocon conservatives came from the Trotskyites. These guys, they're kind of conservative, but they're more about, hey, when I retire, can I be an advertising guy for Raytheon, or can I get a show on Fox, or can I work for Lockheed Martin? And so they're willing to compromise their values for money. And that's how they get compromised and blackmailed into going along with a socialist liberal agenda. So we don't really have a lot of conservative military brass up at the very, very top. Most of the brass now, in fact, some of them are getting mandatory chips, and you'll see that little scar in the back of the neck. It's like there's a perfectly young dude. There's no way he could have broke his neck and been an airborne ranger with all the stress of that job and the physicality, but he's got the little surgery scar. Because, yeah, they have been chipping people since the 90s. I know that's something scary for people to talk about, but
I never got a chip.
Well, you were fortunate then. Let me put it this way. When they have people in Afghanistan, SEAL Team 6 going down and they're seeing their vital signs going down, do you think it's just, a thermometer on their vest? They have several vital
I have no idea. No, I've never heard of anybody having it. And I was in from 99 to 2014, so never heard of anybody having a chip.
The chip in the back of the neck are for specialty units that do a lot of work behind enemy lines, or officers that would prove to be an HVT in a combat situation. And what part of it is, it's what's called an RFID. It's a radio frequency identification device. It constantly emits a certain small hertz of radio waves. It's the same chip you get put into dogs. So you can identify who the dog belongs to. Those little chips that they're putting in the back of these guys' necks, they can't actually broadcast a signal like that. It is way too weak. Satellites can't even pick it up. They actually have those on their non-shooting hand that go around their wrists. A lot of times, if you play like Call of Duty or some shit, if you look at the non-shooting hand, especially if it's like behind enemy line stuff where you're being observed in game, there looks to be a GPS on there. Well, that is one function of the machine. That's what they can face it with, but it's on the inside of your wrist to get the best pulse signal. They can measure everything they need to know right there. It's not actually an implant, but it is based on that person. Now, if you take it off, then it registers that it's been taken off, not that you're dead.
Okay.
Again, it's to monitor vitals, but the point is it's tracking, and thus they have another way of compromising where you are, because you guys are forgetting you have RFID, but you also have ways to amplify and mitigate the signals.
You
That's
can't
another
amplify that. You can't amplify that signal.
Yeah,
though.
those don't even have any power in them.
They
have
do
to
have
be
power.
externally powered.
They do have power in them. It's biologically produced power, but it's not able to be amplified above a certain amount because it's so close to the spinal column that'll actually cause permanent damage to the person that has it. If the signal's amplified to where they can actually get it with a satellite.
Well, I'll later have to pull up some literature for you guys, but in the interim, my point though about these neocon officers and just even these special forces officers and the like who think they're doing good, eventually they're put into situations. A great example, if you guys followed up on how Larry Nichols retired before he went to work for the Clintons and then later turned on the Clintons, is that during that time period of Iran-Contra and all that, Larry Nichols was in South America and something went wrong, and he implied it involved women and children. Or excuse me, it was Latin America, Central America. But, Larry Nichols doesn't imply exactly what went wrong, but the rule used to be, no women, no kids. And now, as we see with the human traffickers.
Well, as we see with the Democrats, women and children are not just off the table, they're the primary product. So let's not kid ourselves on that front with the Democratic regime.
I know one.
Go ahead, sir.
I know one.
Yeah.
Women and children are the primary products. Yeah.
And
that's
the target.
True.
And the target. Both.
Yes. So it's just strange because we're at a place where, and I'll be honest, I as I was watching the inauguration of Joe Biden, I did not have this gut-wrenching fear of Joe Biden or of the Democrats, because whatever power it seems they have now, it's not sustainable. It's not going to last very long. They are not confident in what they have. And that
if I may, they showed they're afraid of us. They put up the barbed wire, emptied out the town, and then they purged the National Guard that were there because some of them believe in, whatever the fringe flavor conspiracy theory of the day is.
12,
that right there. It's just ridiculous.
About it.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's not just all the stuff you guys are saying. It's also they're going after conservatives in every way, in the media, on social media, just anybody that isn't thinking like them, anybody that's not an NPC. Can't think too much for yourself, or you might introduce scary thoughts to the rest of the peasants.
Well, I mean, if you dare let someone else on the internet know that they're not alone in what they're thinking, that shit might not be up to snuff, you're part of the problem, and that's something that we can't give up. So as soon as I'm permitted back on Facebook, I'm just going to be constantly blasting Gab.
Are you in fascist book prison?
I am on fascist book because I have family and friends. And
are you in fascist book prison?
Oh, prison, absolutely, constantly.
Congratulations.
Half of the, no. You don't understand. I am in fascist book prison for half of the fucking year. You don't get it. Every other day, I'm getting 30-day bans. It's nonstop. It's glorious.
I only managed to accomplish that goal in 2017. 1 day in for 1 day out.
Pretty much.
I am one strike away from losing my OG Facebook account. Good thing I have alternatives, but my original account that I've been on since Facebook ever came out, I was one of the first people to jump on it as a platform to promote my lucha antics, and it gradually just became, my political platform instead. I am one strike away from losing that beautiful, beautiful Facebook. And you know what? I don't really care. That's the best part. I already downloaded the pictures that I put up to there back to my home computer that I wanted. And I purposely made a folder of pictures on it just to piss people off, called memes that make you go re.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So And I've done the same thing. I used to have a page on Facebook, and it got nuked after 3,000 because, well, you can't let people like me have a platform on Facebook. Yeah, like my entire goal was to make conservatism sexy again, and apparently it was working because it scared the shit out of Facebook.
Well, Instagram's throttling like Babes for Trump, and Babes for Trump is whether they're tatted up or they're bikini models or just, just good looking country girls. They're all holding their Trump flags or whatever. And it's like, I know when I joined that group on Facebook just to see, some bikini pics, it was like, or excuse me, Instagram, I should say, it was like, 100,000 or so members. I'm looking at it now. It's like, oh, there's only like 1,000 views. It's like, okay, Instagram, which is Facebook extended, what are you doing? And they tell on themselves because of their iniquity. It's if they're gonna stop us.
As I was just saying before, just go to Gab. Tell all of your friends, look, you're safe here. They can't touch you here just yet. They have to take off the mask a little further in order for Gab to get nuked. So just gather where you can. Come again?
What good would it do to go after Gab? They can't go after the app. They can't go after the server because that they don't own it.
Exactly.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Gab's pretty well fortified.
Yeah.
Well, let me add this.
Gab is bulletproof. They're not nuke proof. There would be a way for you to go to basically the internet switchboard and unplug the Gab website. But in order to do that, you would have to do it at a federal level. Like it would have to be like some like FBI. Like it's weird. There is a way to nuke Gab, but it's never been done before. It's never been done. Since the history of the only reason that they've ever pulled that kind of an extreme measure on anything is for sites where you can pay money to assassinate people on the dark web.
Silk
Road. Come
Silk
again?
Road.
Silk Road.
Yeah.
They got Silk Road.
Yes. So
Silk Road was legitimately engaged in criminal activity.
Yep.
I'm just going to say it. They were breaking the law and they knew it.
Yes.
And providing cover for what they were doing. That's the one thing.
So there are ways for Gab to get nuked. However, they can't justify it legally by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, these lawyers have quite an imagination, especially the liberal one, or not even liberal, the Democrat ones. I was giving one there. Yeah, I was giving someone the definition of liberal earlier tonight. I think I referenced that. And it's like under line 3 and line 4, the definition of liberal, the Democrats are not that at all. So, believing in civil rights for others, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nope, civil rights for some, not for you. The thing with Gab is that I was on it ever since Andrew Torba first talked about it on InfoWars. I have my Gab account, don't get me wrong. But before that, Matt Drudge warned us when he came on InfoWars that they were going to put conservatives into different ghettos. Basically, it's a division technique. So I have all these accounts. I have a Parler, I have a Gab, I have a Library, I have BitChute, I have DLive. I have all the whack-a-mole stuff. I have 14 platforms I'm on.
Interesting.
I just don't go to them that often because to me the fight is in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's in those mainstream sites because I'm trying to win over the hearts and minds to what we believe in. And if you got the time to have the conversation with people, especially in the 3D world, you will make people into conservatives. It's just the approach. You can't just smack someone down and say that they're wrong. Now, there's some people I know who, no matter what, they refuse to admit to being wrong. So them, yes, you smack them down, and they're the ones that means we're invincible.
Here's my thing, though, Stryker. And we have a comment in chat saying that you're a Fed. I can't confirm it tonight. But, however, the thing is, the way that Facebook and social media have been behaving, especially Twitter and all, they're putting conservatives in ghettos, But what they're doing is they're actually making the right stronger by giving them a place, isolated place to go. If you say, in effect, the only safe place for
Forcing us to
conservatives
go.
is is essentially Gab, that's where we're going to go, and you're going to take most of America with you eventually. And this is where, and this is the strength that Gab has. Um, you say that that Facebook is not going to be eternal. Like
Nope.
their power structure is has points of weakness, and especially if you make free speech and free expression untenable on Facebook, then people will just of their own volition get up and go, and that's really what Torba's banking on, and it's something that Torba has earned. He's earned the business of these people who have literally nowhere else to go to speak their mind, and that's what's amazing about this is the unintended consequences will be their undoing, and that's kind of why I'm still smiling. That's why I'm still
Well,
smiling. The
you're,
unintended consequences of these draconian measures will be their undoing. Absolutely.
well, you're going to love this too, because there's a business cost to this. I'm going to relate this to you, and this will also tell off whoever thinks I'm a Fed, because there's a lot of reasons I'm on Facebook. One of my alternative accounts, it used to be WPW Lucha Libre, or Lucha Libre underscore WPW, whatever we called it back then. I don't use it too much because right now we're in a lockdown, but I was using it fairly once or twice a month. I was using it for company business because it was essentially our company Facebook. Now, get this. You used to be able to do an event invite where you can invite people to your lucha shows or whatever. Ours were weekly at the Anaheim Marketplace. So every week I would go in there, plug our events in Anaheim. Later, we were doing events in Santa Ana every week. And I would plug them, and, you try to invite your whole friends list, right? Now, Facebook, if you know how social media was working at the time, you were only going to get your message to about 20% of your audience, just because they get so much, junk mail, so much crap. And of that 20%, you might be lucky to get anywhere from 2 to 5% that actually show up. So you wanted to have all these fans, on your friends list. So I made a point to expand. And then eventually Facebook was like, well, these people aren't paying us. We want to make more money off advertising, so on and so forth. They capped how many people you could have as friends. The next move they did was they capped how many people you could invite to events. The next move they did was they actually chopped their algorithm to make it a fifth of that. So that 20% that we're going to see your advertising originally just by you messaging them got chopped down. Let me see. I think the math then becomes 4%, whatever a fifth of 20% would have been, right? So essentially you build up this big group of people that you want to market your events to and your shows to, and you generate revenue from your merchandise stand, from your ticket sales, from your t-shirt sales, all that stuff. Now it's like our events, even though we were playing in front of larger crowds, we were not drawing in any like new fans through Facebook. Our stuff was still through out here in SoCal in the Southwest, was still word of mouth, basically street teaming with flyers and having to do the occasional appearance on the morning news or whatever. That was how we were growing our business. I was going to the promoter. I'm like, Facebook is going to die one day, boss. And it has nothing to do with my personal account where I promote Trump, and before that I'm promoting Ron Paul. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do that on our main account, that's WPW, they're limiting your reach as a company, and they're doing this to anyone who's not a mainstream company paying for ad revenue. That's how Facebook is Facebook is pissing on conservatives, but we conservatives have the money to buy stuff because we save our money for purchases. We don't blow it every day at the movies on pop culture like the liberal left does. And that's where you're correct. Everyone will eventually go to Gab, and Gab will flourish because business sense wise, Facebook has already been hostile to small business. Small business will leave, and all you'll have on ads for Facebook eventually will be Pepsi and Coke and Ford and Chevrolet. You're not going to have the next small Tesla startup on Facebook. And that's my next thing is I'm going to change some of my platforms for the Lucha Libre and the wrestling that I'm involved with. I'm going to convert those platforms into promoting our wrestling events. But as someone business minded, Facebook has shot themselves in the foot. But in the terms of the ideological battle, There's still a lot of people out there that I know we can reach them. It's just breaking through the censorship, because a lot of people don't even know that they're conservatives. If you get what I'm saying, brother, carnal conservative, they don't get
Yeah.
they don't get that at the end of the day, they want what's best for themselves and their family and their finances. They want a nice house. They want, you could call it the American dream, but it doesn't have to be a picket fence. Maybe they just want an apartment they can pay the rent on all the time. Or maybe they want
Okay.
to be able to have gasoline in their
So
lawnmower. But
so
they don't know
on
that
that
until they
note,
learn it.
Striker, on
Mhm.
that note, I'm gonna wrap up the stream,
Sure.
and given everything that we've seen and the fear that we have from the incoming regime, I want the panel to give me their predictions of what's going to happen in the next year. Like, not 4 years, not 2 years. Just tell me what you think is going to happen in the next year. Let's start with Stryker, then we'll move on to Spicy P.
Well, for my start, false education appearing real is a 4-letter word. So I don't. That's why I come off like a Fed or something, because I'm so gung ho. I'm old enough to have seen the ups and downs of politics. In 2 years, like I said earlier, we got ourselves the issues with a congressional election. And I could see us. We got to get a way to get our third party nominee, whatever the third party is, get those people onto the ballot. But the problem is that the DNC and the GOP control ballot access right now, especially here in California. It's whoever gets the top two votes. It's not opposing sides necessarily. It's Democrat versus Democrat light. So I see us either having a bunch of messed up elections in 2022, where just liberals, it'll be a blue tide, as they call it, and then we got to find different ways to pull out of that. And I do know that through national-assembly.net, we got a handbook. We got 10 steps to follow. I know I've referred you guys to that. There is actual constitutional ways to pull out of this corrupt system, and then hold those who are still in it in the offices, those that have taken oaths of office. You can hold them to their bond and get them to actually do what we, the people in assembly, want to get done. So I see us forming assemblies to counter what will be a blue tide in 2022, if that makes any sense to you guys.
Fair enough. All right, Spicy P, take me through it.
I see more and more people left and right getting more and more disenfranchised by the system as it stands. Don't see any good coming of it. Maybe a third party does pop up, but Americans, for the most part, are exceedingly individualistic, and they don't really want to unify behind something that isn't theirs, that doesn't conform with their beliefs. There's a lot of people right now that believe this election was bullshit. And will Trump be able to have a chance at starting a third party? Well, if he actually goes to social media that's going to stick around for a while, yeah, sure. But beyond that, things are so up in the air right now. A stiff breeze coming from the wrong direction might set people off.
That's true. All right, mandatory. What's your take?
All right. So first of all, Biden's going to reimpose the lockdowns.
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh-huh.
And as that gets people more and more upset coming into summer, we're going to see another outbreak of riots. And that's what last summer's riots were really about, is the lockdowns. We're going to have one little tiny uh, flash in the pan incident that's going to turn everything loose. And right about as that crisis is dying down, we're going to start finding out about what happened on 6 November. Evidence is going to start coming out in ways that they can't. They'll say, no, that's not what happened. But yeah, that's what happened. Might even see an email leak, another wiki leak. About,
Yep.
let's say about June or July of next year, Joe Biden's suddenly going to resign for health reasons. Right about the
Wow.
time these investigations are really gearing up and people are demanding answers.
Yeah.
Kamala's going to step into the presidency role. And if she can hold on to the bullshit routine, she's going to be reelected. Or, well, elected, I guess I should say, as president. But she's going to be elected in the middle of rampant riots that are going to still be going on at that point.
Mm.
And they're going to blame every last bit of it on the right wingers. That's how they're going to go after Gab. Is saying Gab is promoting right wing conspiracy theorists, as literally people are marching through Washington, D.C. saying, "Show us the ballots."
Excellent.
Yeah.
And every time you see a conservative rally, there's going to be violence. And it's always mysteriously going to be started by somebody wearing a red cover.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'll wrap it up. I think that what's essentially going to happen is Joe Biden from his fortress of solitude, and Obama becomes VP.
His oversized spank bank.
Yeah. So I think that Joe Biden from his fortress of solitude is going to um, disenfranchise the American people so dramatically that something terrible will happen. Like Texas, Texas has already vowed to say whatever it is you're trying to do to all of us. Our attorney general has said we're just going to give you the finger. I'm going to protect the rights of the American people in this state. You will have essentially little to no power in the state of Texas, and that might kick off a secession. And if that happens, we're looking at the first step to a civil war. Now, barring that, we will likely have a third party that will attract a lot of people and might successfully nominate a new candidate.
Which would be
Um,
great. The last time that happened was the Bull Moose Party, I think.
well, I think this will be far more successful than the Bull Moose Party.
Yeah.
I think it will be far, far more successful than the Bull Moose Party. And essentially, I think that it's going to have enough steam to kick off and dethrone the people who hold power today. Now, that's 4 years in the future, but in this first year, we're going to have so many shenanigans that it's going to completely fracture the country to the point to where that third party is going to have a viable chance in 2024. And by 2024, there will be such contention and such bombshell releases about these Dominion Smartmatic systems. I think that we're going to go back to paper ballots. I sincerely believe that there's enough will from the people that we will actually go back to paper ballots. I know it doesn't look that way. I know that every sign points
Yes, it
contrary. That we're just
does. It
well,
exactly
look.
looks that way.
I know that's what it should, but in terms of raw power, and when you see the cyclopean beast that is the democratic system, the fact that they have the House, that they have the Senate, that they have the presidency, it does not look that in a mere 4 years that we can actually go back to paper ballots. It does not look that way. But I do believe that if we have that, we are successful in garnering that third party support. And if Joe Biden is successfully, as he's on track to already do, tear apart the infrastructure of the American middle class, yeah, that is exactly where we'll be by 4 years. We will go back to paper ballots and only paper ballots. We will be counting them by hand, and we will be able to audit them successfully. Because I don't see us taking this any further. I think that in 1 year, Joe Biden will completely destroy any potential legacy or chance of maintaining power that they have, and that is why I'm smiling still. Anyways, gentlemen, thank you for coming along. Thank you for joining me on this stream. To everyone who's watching, stay carnal and God bless everyone. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Epstein didn't kill him.